a sweltering August afternoon in 1995. I was sitting at my desk, papers scattered across it, sipping lukewarm coffee when my phone rang. On the other end of the line, a frantic voice told me that a young woman named Heather Teague, age 23, had vanished without a trace from a secluded beach on the Kentucky side of the Ohio River. Witnesses said she had been sunbathing alone. The urgency in the voice was unmistakable, and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I headed to Newburgh Beach, where Heather had last been seen. The scene was calm, almost too calm. There was no sign of a struggle, no personal belongings strewn about. It was as if she had evaporated into thin air. A local man who had been watching through a telescope from the Indiana side of the river, reported seeing a man approach her and forcibly drag her into the dense woods behind the beach. The description was vague, but it was all I had. It was unsettling, an abduction in broad daylight in a public space with so little to go on. I started by speaking to anyone who had been in the area, but the beach was remote and visitors were scarce. The witness, who had seen the abduction from nearly a mile away, could only provide the faintest details. A man, dark hair, a thin lead, but I needed something to work with. Back at the station, I sifted through missing persons reports, combing through every detail in search of anything that might help me identify a suspect. Heather's family was devastated, her mother inconsolable, pleading with us to find her daughter. There was a sickening sense of urgency, a clock ticking down, every second slipping away, making it harder to believe Heather would be found alive. I started tracking down every known criminal in the region. Anyone with a history of violence, stalking, or SA. One name kept coming up, a man named Marty Dill. Dill had been known to the local police. He had a checkered past involving violent crimes and seemed to fit the vague description given by the witness. There was something about him that made my gut twist in knots. As I drove out to Dill's property, I couldn't shake the sense that this was a tipping point in the case. His house sat on a secluded stretch of road, hidden from view by towering trees and overgrown brush. I knocked, my heart pounding in my chest. His wife answered the door, her eyes darting nervously. "I need to speak to Marty," I said, my voice low and steady. She hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes before she stepped aside. I entered the dimly lit house, where the scent of decay clung to the air. Marty Dill sat in a recliner, his face twisted into a grimace as I approached. "What do you want?" he growled. "We're investigating the disappearance of Heather Teague," I said, not breaking eye contact. "You match the description of the man seen abducting her." His reaction was immediate, a flash of anger, then something else, something darker. He denied everything, of course, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he was letting on. I left his house that day with a sense of foreboding, but no concrete evidence. The investigation dragged on for days and then weeks. Dill became more and more erratic as we began tailing him, hoping he would slip up. One night, before I could bring him in for further questioning, I got the call. Dill had unalive himself. He'd locked himself in his garage and shot himself before we could make an arrest. I arrived at the scene just as the coroner was wheeling out his body. His death felt like a dead end, but as we searched his home, we found something chilling. Strands of hair matching Heather's in his car. Bloodstains, small but present, hinted at a violent struggle. It was a break, but not the one I wanted. With Dill dead, we might never know the full truth. Forensics confirmed that the hair belonged to Heather Teague, but there was no sign of her body, no closure for her family, only more questions. We knew Dill had something to do with her disappearance, but without a confession, without a body, there was little we could do beyond suspecting the worst. As the years passed, rumors continued to swirl. Some believed Dill had an accomplice. Others thought Heather had been taken elsewhere, her fate sealed in another dark corner of the world. But every lead that came in eventually dried up, and every trace of Heather vanished, along with the hope of finding her alive. The case was officially declared cold, but it haunted me. The image of that quiet, serene beach where Heather had laid down that summer afternoon, only to disappear into the void, still plays in my mind. The Ohio River, calm and indifferent, holds onto its secrets. Like a predator, watching from the shadows, Heather Teague's body was never found. Marty Dill, the prime suspect, took his secrets to the grave. And in the end, the question of what truly happened to Heather remains unanswered. A quiet horror that lingers, a mystery that fades but never dies.